Hey everyone, welcome back to Dan's Chess Lounge. Today we're going to be continuing with our candidates preview, and the player spotlight today is Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. Now his nickname is Shaq Mommy because that's a lot easier to say. Now he was born on April 12th, 1985, so he's 32 years old at the time. He's the #1 Azerbaijan player in the world, and currently he's the #2 player in the world just altogether, total. So he's hot right now. He's playing some of the best chess that he's ever played in his life, and he's a real threat to do well in this candidates and win this candidates tournament. We'll have to see what he actually does in it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled off a victory this candidates tournament, and especially since he has a little bit of experience playing in them as well. This isn't his first rodeo, so he knows what to expect. He's not going to have like those first time jitters. So interesting thing about him is that his father is a former boxer, and that's his trainer. And he has two sisters, and both sisters are women grandmasters. So chess runs deep in their family. As far as his style goes, he's a very creative and attacking player, very, very aggressive on the chessboard. The thing about Shaq Mommy is that he will bust out a G4 and H5 on you real fast. So he'll play like something that is considered dubious or not the greatest line or unsound for the top world-class players, and he'll play it and he'll wind up winning. He'll beat them. So, but it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes that will cause him to lose the game as well. So we'll just have to see what happens. He's very entertaining to watch. And today's game that I've selected for you guys is Peter Svidler versus Shaq Mommy, and this took place recently at the Tata Steel 2018. And this was a really good game to showcase Shaq Mommy's style and how he plays. And if you're not ready for it, you will just get rolled right off the board. So Svidler was white. He played c4. So this is the English opening. Knight f6, knight f3, e6, knight c3. Typical English stuff going on so far. d5. Now right here with d4, this is kind of a transposition into the Queen's Gambit declined. And now you have the Ragozin variation of the Queen's Gambit declined. No more English. C takes D, E takes D, Bishop F4 here. It's a very popular line. Now you have Knight E4, which is an aggressive move right off the bat here. It puts pressure on the knight on C3 because it's pinned by the bishop. So instead of protecting the knight, Peter Svidler goes and plays Queen A4, which causes Black to play Knight C6. And what that move does, it does two things. One, it blocks the check, of course, but two, it prevents Black from protecting his D5 pawn with his C pawn. So that's a very interesting move. Queen A4, excuse me, is not the standard move there. The standard move is Rook C1, but it does its purpose though. So White plays Rook C1, puts more protection on that knight there. Black castles, and right here normally White plays E3 with the idea of getting their bishop out. The bishop would either go to D3 or even E2, and then castles. That's the typical way of playing this line, this variation. But Peter Svidler decided to play G3 here. He wants to fianchetto the bishop. He wants to go out on the other side, fianchetto the bishop, and then castle. The question is that playing too slow? Is Black going to be able to put too much pressure on him before he can get his king tucked away safely? And then here you go right away, G5. This is a typical Shaq Mommy move right here. And that's why I wanted to show you guys this game here. Now, Shaq Mommy just castled, and now he's playing G5, right? Exposing his king, not worrying about kingside weaknesses or long-lasting in-game weaknesses. He plays G5 right here. Very aggressive move. So then Svidler plays bishop to e3 here, which is a very awkward move. I mean, normally you would want your pawn to protect the d pawn here. If he might have been thinking if he went to bishop d2, then he might have been worried about the continuation of g4 hitting the knight right here, and then he could capture on d2. And then White would have to recapture back with his king. So he might have been thinking about that. And that's why he didn't play bishop d2 right away. But it would have been all right, because as you see here, if he would have played g4, then Svidler could have just captured the knight on e4. And then after the pawn recaptures, bishop takes, knight takes, queen takes. And then after the pawn recaptures the knight there, Svidler would have had a fine game. He would have had a number of options to play here. He could have played e3. He could have played h4. He could have played rook c5, preparing to swing over to attack the king on the semi-open g file here. And then if you notice, the Black doesn't have anything developed here. All he has is two pawns that's overexposed. So it might have been better if Svidler would have played bishop d2 here. But instead he didn't do that. He played bishop to e3 right here. This awkward move here. And now you have another aggressive move by Shaq Mommy. f5. Attempting to blow the king side wide open. No regard for his own personal king safety. He's all about the attack. So bishop g2 here, because Peter doesn't have any way of stopping f4. No good way of stopping f4. So he goes ahead and just tries to develop, and maybe he can castle. f4 comes. G takes f. Now you have first, Shaq Mommy takes the knight on c3. Recaptures, and now you have G takes F, hits the bishop here. Bishop drops back to D2, and now you have a nice, it's a safety move, but really the purpose of King H8 is to make room for the rook here to slide over to G8 and utilize this open file here. Queen goes to b3. Svidler doesn't really know what to do here, because b3 is not the greatest move, because that just gets hit with knight a5 here. So now he has a tempo on the queen. Queen goes to c2, and now you have this beautiful knight c4. Now just take a look at the position for a moment here. Black is definitely winning at this point. Look at these knights. Everyone knows about how I'm always talking about Kasparov and his octopus knights versus Karpov in the World Championship. Shaq Mommy has two octopus knights. Look at all the squares that they're occupying here. This is just unbelievable. All these squares that the knights are taking up. That is just complete domination of the position. So Svidler plays rook d1 here to try to put some more protection on the bishop, because the knights is just all over Svidler's territory. Rook g8 attacks the unprotected bishop on g2. Now you have knight e5. So Svidler says, okay, let me try to do something here. Let me try to counterattack a little bit here. So now if the rook takes on g2, now it would fall, Black would fall to knight f7, forking the king and the queen. But black just snaps off the knight, and Svidler plays bishop takes e4. Now I ask you guys, what would you do here? Would you just recapture back? If you're black, would you just recapture back? You would have pawn takes bishop, and then you would have pawn takes knight. I mean, where's your attack at then? I mean, black wouldn't have anything developed. White would probably be okay. How would you continue in this position right here? Pause the video and then think about it. Come back and let me know. All right, here we go. Shaq Mommy plays Queen D5. And that is a brilliant move there. It's threatening checkmate. If Queen goes to G1 check, Rook takes it, but then the Rook here would just play checkmate. So, in order to prevent that, the White King needs an escape square. So you have Bishop takes F4 here. That gives White an escape square, but it loses material. White's going to lose one of his bishops here for the pawn. Shaq Mommy plays Queen takes F4. He takes the dark square bishop. And then Svidler takes the pawn on D5. So what you have is Svidler got 2 pawns for giving up the dark square bishop. Is that compensation? I don't think so. So now the bishop here is hitting the rook. And now you have this beautiful bishop F5, which hits the queen. And believe it or not, Svidler resigned right here. He threw in the towel right here not because there was like any immediate checkmate, but his position was just so bad that he didn't want to play on any longer because he didn't have anything going on. If play might have continued, Queen goes to B2 to get out of the attack, and now you would have Knight G4, threatening Queen going to F2 check. Rook goes to F1 to stop that, but then you would have Knight takes H2, hits the Rook again. E3, threatening to take the Queen and move the Queen out of the way, but instead, Rook G to E8. And now, Black is threatening to just bust open the position as well, where Rook takes E3. I mean, he still has Knight takes Rook hanging there. It's just a very bad position, and he's down a piece as well. Can't forget about the material advantage that Black has. Queen would go to D2 to protect, and then Black would just snap off the Rook there. King takes, and this is just too much for a GM, super GM at that level. This would be like a slow death for Svidler, and he didn't want to play on. He would just suffer. So he threw in the towel, resigned. It's a great victory for Shaq Mommy to win in 21 moves. Pretty much a miniature. He miniatured Peter Svidler, he's won the Russian championship several times. He's a great super GM. And this is a really good win for him. Shaq Mommy has a chance to win the Candidates tournament, because if he plays the same way that he played in this game here, very aggressive and enterprising, then he could pull off a victory. But the thing is, you live by the sword, that you die by the sword. So sometimes he's not going to always come through with these very aggressive attacks. It's not going to always win, especially when a lot of his stuff is very dubious. So I think he's not going to come in the middle, I don't think. I think he's actually going to be either first or second place or 7th or 8th place. I think he's going to either be in the top or the bottom. No in between in this tournament. So, okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.